We're taking iconic tropes from movies that we grew up watching and injecting them into real life and watching people react.
The dude wanted to murder us, but when they was like, it's a prank, he became like this jolly light, and I'm like, what? I mean, for him to be like, man, I almost killed y'all, man, that's crazy. What? You almost went to jail for this?
And then the last guy I run up to, I go, Bud, is that you? And I go, I lost my friend Bud. And he goes, everybody's got a friend named Bud nowadays. And I was like,
Hi, I'm Dan Sneerson from Entertainment Weekly, and welcome to another edition of Around the Table. We're here today with the folks behind Bad Trip, more specifically, star and co-writer Eric Andre, star Lil Rel Howery, and director and co-writer Kitao Sakurai. Gentlemen, thank you for going on this trip with us. We appreciate it.
Dan, thank you. I appreciate it.
I don't think we ever gonna get out of this town.
I'm telling you, seeing Maria today, that was a positive moment.
Maria!
Oh my God,
I haven't
Chris.
seen you in forever.
If you're ever in Manhattan, I'll show you around.
Great.
Okay. Yes.
I'll see you
great
later.
seeing you, Chris.
So let's launch in. So Eric and Kitao, this movie feels like a leveling up and a logical outgrowth of your work on the Eric Andre show, like the kind of pranks from the show that fans love, but with a road trip gone awry plot to hold it all together, I guess I would say. How did you go about creating this melding of worlds, and does the prank provide inspiration for a plot point or vice versa or both?
Yeah, so the melding of the two worlds, you're talking about like the pranks we do on the show and then bringing it to like a narrative feature?
Yep.
You know, we're big Borat fans. He was kind of the first, Sasha was kind of the first to do like a narrative prank thing. And then when Bad Grandpa came out, we were so impressed that it was like Jeff and Knoxville and Spike made a narrative completely hidden camera narrative feature. Kitao and I had been doing just a couple seasons of the show at that point, and my agent was like, hey, you make hidden camera pranks. You should meet with Jeff Germain. He just made a $100 million grossing narrative hidden camera feature. So we met with Jeff a million times and we pitched him a bunch of horrible ideas for movies because we had no idea how to write a movie. And then finally, a few years later, we wrote more or less the version of the movie you saw. And then what was the second part of the question?
Oh, does the prank provide inspiration for the plot point or vice versa? How does that work?
We learned the hard way that like story kind of has to come first, but sometimes like the gorilla prank, we just kind of like wrote a funny prank, and then Amanda, Spike's writing partner, was like, you should make it about like Maria and like getting a cell phone pic for Maria. So we weave that in. Did I miss anything, Kitao?
Oh yeah. I would just kind of like add on to that, like, there's kind of like two methods that we used in the movie. It's like sometimes you'll write a really, really funny prank and need a home for it in the narrative. And so you kind of have to like engineer that prank into the story. Otherwise, like the prank doesn't work. And sometimes you need to like service a story point and you'll write a prank to that story point. Like, we'll need to set up Eric's character, or we need to like understand that, Maria is Eric's love interest, and like, how do we do that through a prank? So that's like the other way of doing it. So it's to answer your question, it's sort of like both sides of the coin we use.
Dude, I'm gonna get a selfie with the gorilla.
There haven't been a lot of narrative prank movies. There's Borat, Borat 2, Bad Grandpa, which, as you mentioned, Jeff Tremaine had directed. What's the biggest misconception of the genre? Does it involve like the level of difficulty and stress required to pull off these pranks and stunts in such like a dynamic environment?
It's incredibly stressful. I almost got Rel killed on his first day. So that's the level of stress. Murder, it's murder, almost being murder level of stress. Yeah, it's terrifying. And it took me a while to just get used to the feeling of doing pranks, because you're like terrorizing people and you're like performing in public. Usually there's like a delineation between like you off stage and you on stage, and you get like amped up and in a zone when you're doing stand up or you're filming a scripted movie. You kind of like separate, you go into another world. But this melds off stage and on stage. So it's a very strange feeling getting used to just being in a performative headspace while you're interacting with real people in the middle of their day. So it's tremendously stressful. But the misconceptions about the genre, I think a lot of people think the misconception is like it's like mean-spirited to prank somebody, or it's like all about like cynicism or I don't know, there's this like snooty looking down your nose misanthropic element to it. But I think we made it a point that like the people that we're pranking in the movie are the movie stars. They have the funniest lines. We were only like, we had to keep my character and Rel's character sympathetic. So we couldn't be like terrorizing people. And I think we pulled off this magic trick in the movie where we showed the humanity in people, and we showed the good Samaritan nature in people, and people were really there to help out, and that nobody comes off looking foolish. You know what I mean? We're never punching down. We're never making anybody look like the fool. I'm the fool, if anything, you know? So like, and Rel and Tiffany and Michaela, we can play the fool, but we were never doing it to like trick people or make them look stupid. It's the opposite effect. We're making these everyday people movie stars in this cool, fun way, so.
Can you just hit that on switch for me? No. Oh my God, turn it off. Oh, I'm gonna get fired again. Oh, give me your jacket. Jacket. Why?
Yeah, I mean, actually, people need to stick around for the end credits because you really show it's sort of a happy ending for everyone when they get that moment of reveal where it's like, oh yeah, you're part of this movie. And I love the good feelings of that when they're laughing and hugging. Even people, you're not sure which way they're gonna go. I mean, right. I think I told you, Eric, when we last talked, that I was like, my palms were sweating for you guys filming this. Like, I think someone's going to pull out a gun. Like, you don't know what's going to happen here. And there's like an inherent tension to watching this that made me really like edge of your seat uncomfortable, you know?
Yeah. Oh, it's uncomfortable. It is not comfortable.
So speaking of that, I was wondering if you could talk about maybe your favorite reaction from one of the people that was pranked, maybe the most unexpected one, the most colorful one.
I mean, the gorilla scene for me and Rel, like we just knew we had these people on the hook, and they were like digging into Rel's arm. This one lady was like, "I need my heart medication," and like, and you know, Rel's doing his best to like stay in the scene because if he falters, then they're gonna smell a rat. Like, wait a minute, is this for real? So we got to both commit. And we're shooting every one of those, even if it's a 2-minute scene in the movie, that gorilla was penetrating me for like 20 minutes. You know, because we're trying to just get as many reactions. I was like running in and out of the cage. I might have gone back a third time, but we're just trying to mine every reaction possible out of the people we're pranking. So you got to commit. Once you're up and running from like even before the prank starts, you're chatting up the people. This one lady almost recognized Rel. She goes, "You look like Lil Rel." And he's like, "Oh, I get that all the time. It's so crazy." and he had to like throw her off the scent. And we're not even in frame yet. Like the scene starts for us before we're even on camera because we're interacting with these people.
The JR Crickets scene where like you and Tiffany and Rel like come in and out of the wing shop and we get people to kind of like tattletale on you guys. That to me was like such a
one lady
scene, you know, because like you're seeing these people like in real time decide whether to like help you or rat you out or you know, and Jackie in that scene was just such a
that woman was incredible. Her name was Jackie. Yeah, she was. Yeah.
That's the day about it too. I felt bad about her reaction. Like when I went on one of the dates, like the movie is not a date anymore in the movie, but when the porta potty thing happens, those was dates Bud was on. Right. Mm-hmm. And one of the girls really liked him. I felt terrible. Like,
yeah, right. You guys are hitting it off.
You like eat spaghetti with each other. It was like, she thinks she found love, man.
Then you had to be like, "You're on a prank thing," and she's like,
"I don't want it." She's like, "Do you still want to go out sometime?"
Oh my God, I totally forgot about that. There's a scene where like me and Rel, like our characters, like have a falling out. I realize like I need my best friend back in my life, and I'm walking up to all these guys in the streets of Atlanta, and I'm just going like, "Bud," and they're like, "No, what the f*** are you talking about?" And then the last guy I run up to, I go, Bud, is that you?" And he turns around and he goes, "Huh?" And I go, "I lost my friend Bud," and he goes, "Shit, everybody's got a friend named Bud nowadays." And I was like, he pranked me for a second. I was like, "What?"
We got 4 whole days. We can kick back, relax, and breathe in America.
Want to turn around? I'll hold it for you.
Somebody turn it off. Hey, swallow
I
some.
forgot we do some like subtler pranks where like me and Rel, like we made it like every scene had to be a prank. Like even a little like connective to like the scene with us on the bus at the beginning where I'm trying to talk him into New York City. Even that had to be a prank. Or the parking garage where we got the car had to be a prank. Just because if it was totally scripted, you would just ruin the momentum. So there was things where I would just like little things that we needed where I would just say some like piece of exposition and say something loud on a bus, and then Kitao and the first AD would come in like, surprise, you're on a hidden camera movie, and it was like the least crazy thing they saw on the bus that day. They were like, when were we on a hidden camera movie? The guy that took a shit in the back of the bus? Is that no, not him. Just when we were talking before.
That loud conversation that you sort of overheard. Like,
yeah, we had a loud conversation. They're like, what?
That was the prank.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, cool.
Oh my.
That's the craziest ever. We going to jail. That's a stolen car. Maybe we can get somebody to help us fix it.
Right, Rel. Well, you had quite an initiation into this movie with the finger trap stunt that involved you and Eric joined together with prosthetic members. Can you walk our viewers through what happened there and maybe the psychic wounds that you suffered filming that?
Well, it was the first day, and it was two things, right? I was already like, yeah, look, we in the hood. We got to be careful, man. I don't think they're gonna react like it's just, oh, this is cool. I could, my ghetto senses was going off like, nah, this is not gonna be right. And I was saying that. We ended up going into the wrong barbershop where the security wasn't there. It wasn't even no cameras in there. And when I tell you, we walked in, like this man's eyes, I don't know what he was talking about before we got there. I don't know why he was so angry about this, but seeing our penises attached in a finger trap was his worst nightmare, where he's like, yo, if I ever see this, I'm gonna murder somebody. Like, he had to say that before in his head, because I don't know anybody would have got that bad before. Man, this dude, so he looks like he's looking for a gun, right? And I'm like, is he looking for a gun? Like, I'm out of Bud Malone. I am Lil Rel Howery at this point. Like, Eric, out the shop, man. Eric's like, come on, man. Help us. I'm like, help us. And then he picked up a knife that he was using to shave somebody and chased us out the barbershop. I break loose from the thing. I fall on the ground. I'm like scared. Luckily, we had a great security guy. He jumped in literally at the last second.
Oh yeah, this guy was like Blade. He was like Wesley Snipes. Blade.
It was scary. It was like watching one of those the anime cartoons where they fly in the air and it's like you just see like that. Yeah. That's what it felt like. It was like and I got up and just left. I just walked. I ain't tell nobody. I ain't wait for cut. I don't even know if I got in the van. I think I walked that far from the hotel. I just went back to the hotel. I was like, I almost got murdered. I called my children. Hey man, I love y'all. This prank movie, I may die. And then I called Tiffany, like, Tiffany, Eric got me doing this movie. I almost died today. I told him that this could happen in a ghetto barbershop. Because this made it even crazier is that the dude wanted to murder us, but when they was like, it's a prank, he became like this jolly light, and I'm like, what? I mean, he'll be like, man, I almost killed y'all, man. That's crazy. What? You almost went to jail for this? Like, when you think about it, like, brother, you was gonna go to jail because two people asked for help because you was gonna go to jail for that. You was gonna publicly murder us in broad daylight in front of so many people. Like,
and he signed the release form. Yeah, no problem. He was like, y'all are hilarious. When's this movie come out? Now.
Right. But the funny thing is that your pain, Rel, ended up in some fortuitous casting, I understand, with Tiffany entering, basically, because of your crazy first day.
Yeah, I found that out later. I'm like, what?
Tiffany called me. So right after Rel called Tiffany, and he's like, I'm doing this Eric Andre prank movie. Eric's going to get me killed. This shit is too dangerous. She was like, oh, shit. Then she called me like 5 minutes later. She's like, yo, you almost got Rel killed? I was like, yeah. And I was like, don't tell anybody. She's like, yo, I want to be in your movie. I live for that shit. I was like, what? I was like, sold. And it was kismet because the woman that was supposed to play her character had just dropped out. So there was like an available, spot in casting, and it was like right at the same time. So it was just like, casting from heaven, and she killed it obviously in the movie. So it's all worth it. It's all worth it. The next day, Rel was like, guys, I have kids. You cannot get me killed. He's like, I'll do this fucking stupid movie, but please don't get me murdered. Like, I think that's a fair ask. And we're like, all right, that's fair.
Man, wow, sweet. We're not taking my sister's car, man. He will kill us. Your sister's in jail. She'll never know.
Oh my God! Don't kill nobody. I'll kill every single one of you white motherfuckers. Snitches get stitches.
You touched on this briefly, but Eric, obviously you've gotten much more famous over the years now. And there's a moment in Borat 2 that addresses this issue and his trying to be anonymous, but he's getting recognized by those college dudes. So for Eric and Rel, like it sounds like you did have that a little bit where people were onto you, but you were able to slip out of that. But for Tiffany, she was a little bit more in disguise, right? So did she get recognized a little less? Like, what would you say that was like?
She did, though. People saw, but this is the thing about what I've learned doing a prank movie is the pacing of it. Like if we get right, if we can't give them time to breathe, right, and to take it in, we gotta get into it. So they don't have time to think about it, right? They don't have time to be like, is this whoever this is? Is this like you can't? I think that's the cool thing about doing this movie. And the more I think about it, I actually love that. It's like the pace of it. Because if you don't start to like Tiffany had to do stuff fast. Like she come in there talking crazy. This is what it was. So like even the way we did the JR Crickets thing,
right?
That was the pacing of that was crazy. Us coming back in there, like everything had to be really fast because you didn't want to give them time to think.
Totally, and we had to be careful just with like. We wouldn't prank, groups of people or demographics that are like more familiar with, Eric or Rel or Tiffany. We tried to like, as much as you can, try and pick and choose who you like engage with or interact with, and also like cutting Eric's hair helped, I think, because that's a very kind of iconic, feature of Eric's persona. So it's like a lot of little things.
Even like Rel's wardrobe is he would never wear. Not only in any other movie as any other character, but in real life, like there's no picture of Rel wearing like the dorky we had Bud wearing. So like just changing your style, your glasses, your haircut. Tiffany was full blown with the cornrows and the teardrop tattoo. Like those little things throw people off. And then every once in a while when we saw like a young college kid that would recognize us coming, we would just say into our microphones like, hey, we got a guy in a blue shirt. And then like a PA or stunt coordinator would come in, rush like, kind of like intercept him, be like, we know what we're doing, and kind of like shoo him to the side. So we made it work. And honestly, if you think about it, the popularity of even the first Borat, Sacha Baron Cohen was able to do Bruno right after. And also like Bad Grandpa, like Johnny Knoxville was super famous, and that character he did in the last 3 Jackasses, but he was still able to take that character back out on the street. So really the key is you prank people over 40. That's really the key. Like a 21-year-old's gonna be like, what's up? Somebody over 40 is just gonna be like tired and confused. Like, why is your penis in a Chinese finger trap?
Also, we had the technology, like even during scenes, Eric or Rel could call out, we had a special kind of code word for somebody that would recognize them called a Phyllis. So even when we were in a scene, if it were a group scene and there were a bunch of people around that were pranking, Eric could be like, hey, we got a Phyllis, 6 o'clock. Like,
oh yeah, we had all these code words.
Words. So Charlie, our stunt coordinator, would come in and just very discreetly be like, hey buddy, can I talk to you outside for a quick second? And they would draw them out of the scene so that the scene could continue without it being like, totally ruined by an Eric Andre show fan.
We also had like popcorn was one of our safe words. Like if somebody was about to like kill us or like break a bottle in our face. We were supposed to use popcorn, but I'd be so nervous when it would get to that moment. Somebody has a knife on you, or this other guy at the bar almost like wanted to like beat me up. That I would forget my own safe word and just start saying goosebumps for some reason. I was like goosebumps, and I'm saying it in my hidden earwig and my hidden lav mic. I'm like goosebumps, and I'm like popcorn, and then they would come in and like rescue me from murder. So
that guy.
Yeah, so I looked like a fucking lunatic.
He wanted to like really kick your. Like it's so.
The guy at the bar.
I don't think did he ever calm down?
He calmed down eventually, but he told me later he thought he was going to get jumped because I was like urinating all over the bar and pissing on the pool tables, and then I kept peeing like near him. He goes, "I don't care where you piss, but you better get your fucking piss away from me." And I was like, "Wait, like so pee here?" And I would pee like right next to his shoes. He's like, that's it. And he took that like final shot before a Wild West saloon fucking brawl breaks out. And I was like, goosebumps, popcorn. And then like two like stunt guys and a security guy jumped up. And then he told me later, he's like, oh shit, I thought your boys were about to jump me. I was like, this is a bigger brawl than I was anticipating. And then I calmed him down. I took a picture with him and I like did a shot of Jim Beam with him. And then he calmed down. And he's not even in the main part of the movie. He's like in the credits and
It was so much work for that like got cut. You know?
Yeah. Because you have to like thread it together. The story has to make sense. Some scenes cancel each other. We're putting a bunch of like our favorite. We had a scene with Chris Rock that we're putting out separate. We had this awesome exorcism scene with a real preacher that we did that we're going to put out, and they're going to live on YouTube and other socials. So we have like a bunch of like 0.5 version, as Jeff would say, coming out that has all the like extra stuff that's really fun and funny.
You see these dudes right here? They stole my car. You know what? Sometimes you just gotta. Oh, the police!
The best laid plans can go to hell pretty quickly when it comes to this type of comedy. I'm kind of wondering, did most of the pranks, go according to plan? Did you have to sub in any different ones or come up with one on the fly when what you had planned just kind of didn't pan out and it was almost like improv on the spot?
It's a ton of trial and error. I'd say like I talked to, Jeff about this and Johnny Knoxville, and I talked to Sacha Baron Cohen about like their process, and they all said the same thing. They're like, at the end of the day, the movie's only like 10% of what we shot, and 90% of it makes the cutting room floor. Because things go awry, marks that you're pranking don't show up, the prank goes the opposite direction or doesn't work for some reason, or there's a happy accident where a prank that you thought was like a little like whatever thing becomes this really funny thing. Like the guy that I mentioned before, the guy going like, everybody's got a friend named Bud nowadays. Like we just had like 20 minutes of daylight left and we already shot the majority of the day, and Kitao was just like, run around and say random guys are Bud. I was like, Kitao, this isn't funny or working, and I made it in the thing, so it's a ton of shooting, a ton of trial and error, but it's kind of the process for this thing. It's a pain in the ass.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's kind of what you have to do when you're trying to make something that's, feels real and authentic in a way that's like kind of beyond what, you normally have to do in a film.
It's kind of like a documentary. It's like, yeah. I'm sure Tiger King had like 10 times the amount of footage. You know what I mean?
Yep.
They're like, they forgot to put the part with me and the tigers make love with my boyfriend.
Sorry, I thought the window was open.
The pranks are clearly the highlight of the film, but there's really some like nice emotional beats here. There's a lovely moment of friendship and reconciliation between Chris and Bud, on the bus. How important did you consider those scenes in grounding all this absurdity going on around them? Like that, the bus passengers' reactions are pretty great. That's a great scene.
I think those scenes are more important than the goofy. And it took me a while to come around to realize how important those scenes, because I was coming from Eric Andre's show where I just get to be completely chaotic maniac for 11 minutes per episode. But an 11-minute runtime has different needs than a 90-minute runtime. And 90-minute runtime, you have to fall in love with the characters and you have to be invested in their journey. Mm-hmm. So we based that bus scene off of When Harry Met Sally and like some other like movie like Love Actually, where like Hugh Grant is like chasing his like girlfriend down in an airport or something. Like we watched a bunch of rom-coms leading up to writing that scene. I remember because we needed like, it's a buddy movie. We needed like their friendship to matter, their like falling out to matter, and their like reconciliation to matter. And it's like the fact that you're actually investing in these characters while they're doing hidden camera pranks, and real people are investing in their story. That's the magic trick of the movie.
Yeah, and the emotional character scenes, like I think the more absurd kind of just funny pranks, it's like you need to kind of earn those. And the way you earn those is with like character and story and setup. And so yeah, for us, like those just purely story or emotional kind of beats were like so critical for making the movie actually watchable as an entertaining piece of entertaining movie.
Yeah, when like Rel and I like had that falling out scene with a car crash, me and Rel were like really in the moment. Like I had like tears welling up in my eye, because you have to make these people believe it. If they smell that it's fake for a second and you jeopardize one person's belief of the scene, you'll poison the well. So we have to commit so hard while just riling these people up. And thank God that guy with the dreads and the peace sign necklace, like he was so invested in these two strangers he knew nothing about, because we have to like commit. So those emotional scenes are like the most satisfying, especially if they're like very iconic, like, oh, I've seen that in a movie before, but never in this, obviously this fashion where it's really happening. It's like we're taking iconic tropes from movies that we grew up watching and injecting them into real life and watching people react all around us. So.
Well, that's what made that's what made it special too. When a Mark did participate in that, like you and that dude talking about love on the bench. You know, it's just a very sweet moment.
Yeah, he's in love.
Like he's looking around like, hey man, he's in love. It's the funniest thing in the world to me.
Why did you do that?
You asked for jump. Don't play with me, mother.
I could have done this without you.
I know.
This is a question for all three of you. What did you learn about America while filming Bad Trip?
I learned that we are more united than divided, as cliche as that sounds. I think that like social media and media kind of like highlights the extremes and highlights the violence and highlights negativity, because positive news stories don't get clicks. So you're living in this surreality of social media and media. But when you hang out with real people all throughout America, because me and Rel and I also tour stand-up. So we've done every city in every state, you know, and we've done international shows. Like people are the same wherever you go, you know what I mean? Like this movie will heal America. That's what I'm saying. And I am running for president at the end of this year. Yes, it's not 2024. I'm running early.
Rel, how about you?
Eric said it perfectly. I think, you know, we did learn that people do care. I mean, you know, from him falling off the bar and then like this nurse coming in, everybody being concerned, to like, you know, even with the penis trap, and we finally get out of it, and like the lady gave me her water, right? She felt bad. Like, I don't know why I didn't need to put it in the water after it got cut off, but I needed some water. But it's just, it is the heart. Like people are more together than what you think it is, you know what I'm saying? And people have your backs, and like the way my man trying to look out for Tiffany when she breaks out, and you know, that's a very, he's like, look, man, you gotta go. She's
asking him out on a date at the end of it.
He's like, no.
Go that way.
But that is interesting. I think just people are not as divided as they try to make it seem like. I think that's a narrative they're creating. And in this movie, it actually like on that narrative. Like, nah.
Yeah, I mean, I think that like while the natural instinct for a movie like this is to like call out, oh, like people are like hypocritical or you know, like bad or anything like that, you know, it's like, I don't know, I don't want to just like repeat what everybody else said, but it's true. I mean, like you do genuinely see that people are caring, you know, no matter where you are or what's going on, like people actually are invested in like the humanity and welfare of other people. Like if you are face to face with another person, like it's easy to have this like screen of, you know, like polarization over us, but like when you're actually in the same space with somebody else, like, you know, you have a genuine human connection, and like that's what, you know, Bad Trip kind of like traffics in is those connections, like for real. So I think that, you know, like that was what I was very surprised by that actually, because, you know, going into a scene like the honky tonk bar, you know, where we were expecting people to be, you know, have a contentious issue with you know, Rel and Eric because of like, you know, race or whatever have you. We didn't really find that, you know, people were actually quite welcoming and you know, supportive and very nice. So that was a, you know, a series of pleasant surprises, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thanks guys for being part of this. This has been EW's Around the Table with Bad Trip, and you can check out the film when it starts streaming on Netflix on Friday, March 26th. So thanks again for joining us.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.